After serving as a secret guard for 10 years, I was dragged by my ear by my own mother on the third day of my retirement and sent to the Prime Minister's estate to serve tea and water. Me? The moment I stepped through the door, the teacup in the Prime Minister's hand shattered. The way he looked at me was as if he had seen a ghost. I was stunned, too. Good grief. Junior brother? His lips trembled for a long while before he squeezed out a sentence. As senior sister, what are you doing here? I replied without batting an eye, I'm here to apply for the maid position. He immediately took 3 steps back. Ancient Storytime Ancient Channel, comments, likes, and subscriptions are welcome. My name is Su Tang. Former secret guard. Note the former. Retired. Honorably retired. The organization gave me a plaque engraved with the words, 10 years as one day, the blade never misses. I hung the plaque right in the center of the main hall at my mother's house. My mother stared at it for 3 days. On the 4th day, she took the plaque down, chopped it up, and used it as firewood. Su Tang! Get up right now! I rolled over on my lounge chair and continued teasing the cat. My mother slapped the back of my head. Look at you. You've been retired for 3 days, and in that time you've scared 2 of the chickens in the yard. Bald Auntie Wang's dog from next door takes a detour just to avoid you, and you're even using the neighbor's roof tiles for knife-throwing practice. I'm just keeping my edge. Edge, my foot. My mother stood with her hands on her hips. I asked your Uncle Zhang to find you a job. You start tomorrow. That's my Uncle Zhang. My mother's lover. Don't get the wrong idea, my father passed away 10 years ago. The relationship between my mother and Uncle Zhang is a proper one, perfectly legitimate and above board. What kind of job is it? I asked listlessly. Go to the Prime Minister's residence and serve as a maid. My hand jerked, and the cat let out a yelp as I squeezed it, before leaping away. I slowly sat up. I turned my head to look at my mother, confirming that she wasn't joking. Mother. Yes. Are you serious? More serious than when your father died. I am Su Tang. I entered the secret guard camp at 15. I completed an assassination mission alone at 16. At 18, I was bestowed the name Night Owl, a title that struck terror into the hearts of all in the martial arts world. At 20, I became the youngest commander of the secret guard. At 25, I stepped down with my mission accomplished and entered an honorable retirement. Now, my mother wants me to become a maid. A maid. The kind that serves tea, pours water, and sweeps the floors. Mother, you know what I used to do for a living, right? I know, you were a killer, my mother said with a curl of her lip. So what? You aren't killing anymore. What else can you do if you aren't killing people? You can't just live off me forever. Look at you, 25, unmarried, unemployed, spending all day messing around with cats and dogs. Even Auntie Lee next door is laughing at me. Me? When it comes to hitting where it hurts, my mother is more accurate than my hidden weapons. But being a maid is just too. What about it? What's wrong with being a maid? It's an honest job. Room and board included. 2 taels of silver a month. Do you have any idea how much of my money you spend at home in a month? I fell silent. Fair enough, in just 3 days, I had eaten half of my mother's pig. And the Prime Minister's estate. My mother held up a finger. The current Prime Minister, Shin Si. He became Prime Minister at just 23. Young, promising, and handsome to boot. What if you... Stop. I interrupted her. Shin Si. Why does this name Sound a bit familiar? Forget it, I can't remember. I've killed quite a few officials in the capital before. I can't recall which is which. Fine, I'll go. I stood up and brushed the cat hair off my backside. If I have to be a maid, then so be it. I'm retired anyway, and it's not like I have anything better to do. It's just serving tea and waiting on people, isn't it? I, Su Tang, have assassinated 7 officials of the 3rd rank or higher and wiped out 3 martial arts sects. Do you really think I'm afraid of serving a mere prime minister? Early the next morning, I stood at the entrance of the prime minister's estate, wearing the new maid's uniform my mother had made for me. To be honest, this prime minister's estate, something isn't right. I hadn't even reached the main gate yet when I felt it. The 2 young servants sweeping the entrance were positioned in a pincer formation. One was covering the blind spot on the left, while the other watched the blind spot on the right. The way they were sweeping, that frequency, that range of motion. It looked exactly like the 7th form of the Secret Guard's 13 breezes, fallen leaves return to roots. I narrowed my eyes. It must be a coincidence. It's definitely a coincidence. Are you the new maid? The gatekeeper walked over, sizing me up from head to toe. This doorman. He looked to be in his 60s, with a kind and gentle face. But I noticed a thin layer of calluses on the web of his right hand. Those were the marks left by years of holding a blade. Moreover, when he walked, his footsteps were completely silent. Fine. Perhaps he had practiced martial arts in his youth. He might have been a caravan guard or something similar before becoming a doorman. It's quite normal. I followed the concierge into the manor. We walked all the way along the corridors and through the gardens. There was a maid watering flowers in the garden. The way she watered them. No, that arc of the spray, that angle of the wrist flick. Holy shit. That's the heavenly maiden scattering flowers hidden weapon technique. She's using hidden weapon techniques to water the flowers. I paused for a moment. The doorman looked back at me. What's wrong? And nothing. I took a deep breath. Su Tang, stay calm. You're retired. None of this concerns you. Maybe they just learned something meaningful from watering the flowers. The doorman led me to the entrance of the study. The Prime Minister is inside. You may enter and pay your respects. I nodded and pushed the door open. The study was vast, and a man sat behind the desk. Dressed in robes as white as snow, with ink-black hair cascading like a waterfall, he was holding a brush and reviewing official documents. Hearing the door, he didn't even look up. The newcomer? Stand and wait a moment, I will finish this. He looked up. Our eyes met. Time stood still. I looked at his face. Young, handsome, with red lips and white teeth. But that wasn't what I was looking at. I was looking at the 3-centimeter scar behind his left ear. That scar was one I had accidentally inflicted during training 5 years ago. He looked at me, too. His face turned from white to red, from red to blue, and from blue back to white. The pen in his hand fell with a click. His sleeve caught the teacup, and it shattered with a crash. A complete mess. Silence lasted for a full 10 breaths. He spoke. His voice trembled. Say. Senior sister? I spoke up as well. Yo, Junior. Shinsi I. A trainee from the 2nd cohort of the Secret Guard camp. The junior disciple I raised with my own hands. His nickname was Little Fox. Back when he was still a scrawny little sprout, I used to chase him all over the camp while he cried out, begging for mercy from his senior sister. Now, he is the Prime Minister of the current dynasty. Life is so unpredictable. You What are you doing here? Shinsiai stood up abruptly, his chair hitting the wall behind him with a loud bang. I'm here to be a maid. A maid? Well, my mother found this job for me. The monthly pay is 2 taels. Shinsi's expression was a sight to behold. It was as if he had swallowed a live toad. Senior sister, he lowered his voice, you are Night Owl. The strongest commander in the history of the Secret Guard. And you're here to be a maid? Former commander, I corrected him, retired. But... Junior brother, I patted his shoulder, don't worry, I'm just here to serve tea and water. I definitely won't cause any trouble for you. Shinsiai looked into my eyes. It was a kind of... How should I put it? It was that specific type of terror a small animal feels when it sees its natural predator. A bone-deep, reflexive fear. I'm serious, I said, holding up 3 fingers. I swear. I'll be a quiet, unassuming maid. You be your prime minister, and I'll sweep my floors. We won't interfere with each other at all. Shinsiai took a deep breath. Then he took another deep breath. And another. Fine, he said. His voice sounded as if he were sentencing himself to death. My first day as a maid. I think I performed quite well. First, I served tea to Shinsiai. The teacup was held steadily, the water temperature was just right, and my posture was elegant. Perfect. Then, as I turned to exit the study, an arrow flew in through the window. My body moved faster than my mind. My right hand shot out, 2 fingers clamping onto the tail of the arrow. Steady as a rock. The tip of the arrow stopped 3 inches in front of Shinsi's nose. Silence. A deathly silence. I froze. Shinsiai froze. Even the air seemed to freeze. I look at the arrow in my hand. Then I look back at Shinsiai. His expression, deathly pale. I say, setting the arrow aside, it's windy, the window wasn't shut properly, and a branch flew in. Shinsiai. I'm going to close the window. I walked quickly to the window, glancing outside as I closed it. There was a dark shadow on the roof opposite. An assassin. A third-rate one. With this level of skill, they dare to attempt an assassination on the Prime Minister? Who are they trying to insult? I casually pulled a copper coin from my sleeve and flicked it out. There was a ding, crisp and melodious. A muffled groan came from the roof opposite and the dark figure tumbled down. I closed the window and turned back around. Smiling broadly. Moss. Ahem, Prime Minister, the window is closed. Shinsiai looked at me, his lips trembling. Senior sister. You promised to be a quiet, well-behaved maid. I am being quiet. You just... a branch. I looked at him earnestly. It was just a branch. Shinsiai closed his eyes. The veins at his temples were throbbing. Get out. You got it. I left the study in high spirits. Well, day 1 as a maid. A perfect wrap-up. In the afternoon, the butler assigned me some chores. Sweeping the courtyard. All right, I can do that. I took the broom, humming a little tune, and swept away. As I was sweeping, the broom hit a brick. This brick is a bit loose. I applied a little pressure with my hand. Clatter. An entire section of the floor flipped over. Below is a secret passage. Deep, dark, and stretching down into the earth. Me. The maid standing nearby watering the flowers, the one who had been watering them with the technique of a hidden weapon master, turned her head. Our eyes met. Her expression was calm. What did you see? I put the brick back and stepped on it firmly. I didn't see anything. Good. She continued watering the flowers. I continued sweeping the floor. But in my mind, I was already ranting like crazy. There is a secret passage beneath the Prime Minister's residence. The maid serving tea waters the flowers with the technique of a hidden weapon master. The errand boy sweeps the floor using footwork that maintains a strategic pincer position. The doorman has thick calluses on his hands from years of wielding a blade. Where the hell have I ended up? Is this a retirement home for secret guards? Nighttime. I live in a small room within the servants' quarters. The conditions are decent. Much better than those at the secret guard camp. I was just about to lie down and sleep when a rustling sound came from next door. Senior sister? An aged voice came from the other side of the wall. I was startled. Who is it? It's me, Old Joe. Old Joe. Uncle Joe? The first generation of the secret guard. A veteran who joined a whole term before me. I even gave him some peanuts when he retired. Uncle Joe? What are you doing here? Hey, I've got nothing better to do in retirement, so Boss Zhang set me up with this job as a doorman. Boss Zhang. That's my Uncle Zhang. My mother's lover. Wait. Uncle Zhang. He wasn't not just my mother's lover. He is the retirement placement director of the secret guard camp. I sat on the bed. My entire body froze. It felt as if 1,000 horses were stampeding through my mind. My mother said she found the job through her lover. Uncle Zhang arranged for me to work as a maid in the Prime Minister's estate. The Prime Minister is my junior fellow apprentice. The estate is filled entirely with retired secret guards. This isn't a damn job search. This is a re-employment center for retired secret guards. I took a deep breath. No way. Tomorrow, I need to have a serious talk with Shinsiai. Early the next morning. I didn't go to sweep the courtyard. I went straight to the study. Shinsiai had just sat down, and seeing me enter, he reflexively recoiled. What are you doing? Junior brother, I said, closing the door, let's lay our cards on the table. Shinsi's expression changed instantly. What do you mean? This Prime Minister's estate of yours, I looked around, inside and out. How many of these people are actually ours? Shinsi fell silent. He remained silent for a long time. Then, he let out a sigh. It was a sigh that felt as if it had been held in for 800 years. All of them. The cook in the kitchen is a retiree from the 3rd class of the Hidden Guard camp. The carriage driver is from the 5th class. The gardener in the garden. Enough, I interrupted him. So this entire Prime Minister's estate is basically a retirement resettlement base for the Hidden Guard, Shinsi said with a look of utter despair. Uncle Zhang set it up. He said retired guards tend to get into trouble when they're idle, so they needed a place to stay. My estate is large and requires a lot of staff, so it was the perfect fit. Me? I am a dignified Prime Minister, Shinsi said, covering his face. My subordinates are all former secret guards capable of taking on 100 men each. When I'm reviewing official documents and my brush accidentally drops to the floor, 4 blades fly in from 3 different directions to help me sharpen it. When I sneeze, 5 people leap out from the shadows simultaneously, asking, enemy attack? I merely sang a little tune while bathing, and by the next day, the entire capital was whispering that the Prime Minister's manor is haunted. As he spoke, his eyes began to redden. Senior sister, do you have any idea what I've been through these past 3 years? I actually felt a twinge of pity for him. Just a little. All right, I patted his shoulder, I'm here now. It won't happen again. Shinsi looked up at me, his eyes filled with hope. Really? It's true. I have them under control. Shinsi's eyes grew even redder, nearly moved to tears. Senior sister. After all, I am their former commander, I said, patting my chest. Rest assured, with me keeping them in check, I guarantee your Prime Minister's residence will remain perfectly safe. Before the words could be finished, another arrow flew in through the window. This time, I didn't catch it. Because from 3 different directions, 6 blades, 2 concealed weapons, and a slipper flew out simultaneously, grinding that arrow into dust in midair. Fragments and debris scattered all across the study. Silence. I turned around. Outside the study door stood 3-inch servants. The cook held a kitchen knife in his hand, his apron still dusted with flour. The gardener held a trowel in his hand, with muddy water dripping from its tip. Uncle Zhou, who had thrown the slipper, stood on one leg, the other foot bare. Are you unharmed, sir? The 3 of them asked in unison. Shinsi's expression. I have killed so many people in my life and witnessed countless forms of deathbed despair. But none of them could compare to the despair on Shinsi's face at this moment. Get out! The 3 of them vanished in a flash. Even faster than when he arrived. I silently bent down to help him pick up the shards. Junior brother. Don't say another word. I think. Don't say another word. Your manor's security is actually quite good. Senior sister. He roared. The current Prime Minister, Lord Shinsi, who was always as gentle as jade and never lost his temper in court. He roared. I had the sense to shut my mouth. Fine. His blood pressure isn't something I can bring down today. Over the next few days, I tried my best to keep a low profile. I really did try my best. But I couldn't help it if this body of mine refused to cooperate. For example, while eating. The cook brought over a plate of fish. I took a glance. The knife work on that fish. The fish slices were as thin as a cicada's wing, each one uniform in thickness with the grain precisely aligned. This was a goddamn variation of the piercing a willow leaf from 100 paces blade technique. I couldn't help myself. Old Zhao, your knife skills are slipping. There's a 0.3 mm difference between the 7th and 8th slices. The chef, Old Zhao, was from the 3rd intake of the secret guard camp, nicknamed Flying Dagger Zhao. He stopped what he was doing and took a serious look at the fish slices, his face flushing red. The commander has a sharp eye. These old arms of mine. The nearby gardener, groom, and gatekeeper all looked over in unison. That look in their eyes. The commander has spoken, the commander has given his critique, the commander is still the commander. It's over. I realized I shouldn't have opened my mouth. From that day on. Every morning, 16 retired secret guards would be lined up neatly at my door, waiting for my inspection. Standing straight as a rod. Like they were at a military parade. When I stepped out on the first day and saw the scene, I almost dropped the bun in my hand. What are you guys doing? Reporting, Commander. Zhou Bo shouted with full vigor. The Prime Minister's residence security squad is fully assembled. Please address the men, Commander. 16 people in total. The youngest was 42, the oldest, 67. Some leaned on canes, some wore reading glasses, and others had medicinal patches stuck to their lower backs. Yet his standing posture was meticulous. He exuded a torrential murderous intent. When the auntie who sells tofu next door passed by, she took one look, her legs went weak, and her tofu crashed all over the ground. Me? Disperse, disperse. They did not move. Until the commander gives his address, we shall not disperse. I took a deep breath. Fine, I'll give an address. Today's address is as follows: everyone get back to whatever you were supposed to be doing. No forming ranks. No shouting reports. And no putting on this kind of display in the streets to intimidate the civilians. Yes. The 16 men responded in unison, their voices shaking the very roof tiles. Then, with a whoosh, they vanished completely. Not even a shadow remained. The tofu-selling auntie slumped to the ground, her lips turning pale. I walked over to help her up. Auntie, it's all right, we were just practicing our morning exercises. The old woman looked at me, her lips trembling. Young lady, is your Prime Minister's Manor involved in some kind of cult? Word of this reached Shinsi's ears. He summoned me to his study that very afternoon. Senior sister. Present. You said, I'll take charge of them. Yes. And this is the result of your taking charge? It's just a transition period. A transition period? Shinsi smiled. He smiled very gently, so gently that a chill ran down my spine. Then let me tell you exactly what has happened during this transition period. He unfolded a piece of paper. It was densely covered with writing. Item 1. Because you praised his sliced fish, old Zhao the cook practiced his knife skills all night and split the kitchen cutting board into 17 pieces. Item 2. To show off for you, old son the gardener used hidden weapon techniques to prune the branches, shearing the neighbor's osmanthus tree bald. The Minister of Revenue, who lives next door, submitted a formal complaint against me today. Third. Old Qian the groom was driving me to the imperial court, and after hearing you say stay safe, he utilized Qinggong footwork the entire way. He paused. The man was running using Qinggong, while the carriage trailed behind empty. Me. Fourth. To prove to you that he's not past his prime, Uncle Zhou the gatekeeper moved those 2 stone lions at the front gate with his bare hands. He moved the left one to the right, and the right one to the left. Those 2 stone lions weigh 800 caddies each. Shinsi folded the paper. He looked at me. Senior sister, is there anything you'd like to say? I gave it some thought. They're actually quite full of life, aren't they? Shinsi crumpled the paper into a ball and threw it right at my face. The current Prime Minister. Throwing things at people. So uncivilized. I'm giving you 3 days, he said, enunciating every word. Get those soldiers of yours under control. If even one, just one, more ridiculous thing happens within 3 days, I'll pack you up and send you right back to your mother. Fine. I thumped my chest. 3 days is more than enough. Day 1. I gathered the 16 people in the backyard. From this day forward, I said, standing with my hands behind my back, everyone is to conduct themselves according to the standards of ordinary servants. No using hidden weapon techniques for daily tasks. No using Qinggong for commuting. No performing security assessments on visitors and reporting them. No. Report, Commander. Old Zhao raised his hand. Speak. What if there really is an assassin? I gave it some thought. Then let him strike. The crowd erupted in an uproar. Commander! You can't do that. The Prime Minister will die. Our duty. You're retired. I roared. You have no duties anymore. Your duties now are to cook, sweep, water the flowers, and watch the door. It went quiet. But it wasn't the silence of submission. It was the kind of silence that says, "Fine, you're the boss, but we're keeping our opinions." I know this kind of silence all too well. The members of the hidden guard appear obedient on the surface, but act in the shadows. It is etched into their very bones. As expected. That same afternoon, while patrolling the backyard, I spotted Old Son, the gardener, burying something among the flowers. Old Son. He flinched. "See, Commander." "What are you doing?" Planting flowers?" I glanced down. It was a hidden trap formation. It was camouflaged with flower pots and vines. The trigger mechanism was that Chinese rose. As soon as someone stepped on the third brick next to it, a volley of crossbow bolts would be unleashed. Old Son. Yes. Dig it out. But Commander, what if an assassin climbs over the back wall? Dig it up. He dug. Dejectedly, he dug. Like an old child who had his toy confiscated. The next day, I noticed Old Zhao, the cook, adding something to the soup while he was cooking. Old Zhao. What was that? Seasoning. What kind of seasoning? Knockout powder. A tiny amount. A trace. Just a little bit. He explained hurriedly. Inhaling it only makes a person drowsy for 3 seconds. I figured if someone tried to poison the food, we could knock the suspect out first. And so you're serving this dish to the Prime Minister? The Prime Minister isn't eating this one. This dish is prepared for the guests. So every official who comes to visit the Prime Minister's manor has to be knocked out by you for 3 seconds? Old Zhao fell silent. Pour it out. Redo it. Yes. The third day. The first day was relatively calm. By nightfall, I thought I was safe. Finally, I could report back to Shenxi. And then, there was a commotion at the door. I ran out to take a look. Uncle Zhou. My Uncle Zhou. 67-year-old Uncle Zhou. He pinned the governor of Jingzhou to the ground. The governor lay face down, his hands twisted behind his back, his mouth full of dirt. Uncle Zhou pressed a knee into his back, holding a slipper aloft in his hand. Speak! What is your purpose for coming to the Prime Minister's estate? The governor of Jingzhou, MMPH. Speak! MMPH. I rushed over. Uncle Zhou! Let go of him. That's the governor of the capital. Uncle Zhou looked back at me with a face full of confusion. I know. You know, and yet you still. Commander, you don't understand. When he entered, his eyes were flickering and his steps were hesitant. According to Chapter 3, Section 7 of the Secret Guard Reconnaissance Manual, he whose gaze wanders upon entry must harbor ill intentions. He was just here to deliver an invitation. Isn't it perfectly normal to be a little nervous when delivering an invitation? The governor of Jingzhou lifted his face from the mud and wept. A man in his 40s, the governor of Jingzhou. Weeping. That night, Shenxi didn't call me to the study. He had someone hand me a note. There were only 4 words on the paper. Senior sister, get lost. I stood in the courtyard, clutching the note in my hand. Moonlight spilled across the ground. Uncle Zhou approached me. Commander, what's wrong? I let out a sigh. I've been fired. Uncle Joe was stunned for a moment, then immediately pulled off his slipper. Who dares to fire the commander? I'll go find him. Don't. I pressed down on his hand. It was Shinsiai. Uncle Joe slowly lowered his slipper. Shinsiai was the junior disciple. But Shinsiai was also the prime minister. He was the head of the household. When the head of the family tells you to get lost, you get lost. Forget it, I said, folding the note and tucking it into my sleeve. I'll go apologize to him tomorrow. Apologize for what, exactly? For the fact that I can't keep these old lunatics in line. Sigh. 10 years as a secret guard, countless lives taken. Defeated by a group of retired old men and women. Disgraceful. Early the next morning, I went to the study. When Shinsiai saw me, his expression was complicated. I told you to get out. I know, I stood there honestly, but I want to fight for one more chance. Fight for it? He sneered. Do you know that after the governor of Jingzhou returned last night, he wrote a memorial overnight to denounce me? He claimed I am maintaining a private army, acting willfully, and showing utter disregard for the imperial court. During this morning's court session, 3 officials from the censorate impeached me. I felt guilty. Truly guilty. I'll handle it for you. How do we solve this? Kill the governor of the capital? That won't be necessary. Senior sister, Shinsiai rubbed his temples, can't you just settle down? You're retired. You should enjoy your retirement. Grow some flowers, walk a bird, find someone to marry, just stop meddling in my affairs, all right? My lip twitched when I heard the words find someone to marry. But that's not the point. The point is, I really can't bear to leave. And it's not because of the 2 taels of silver a month. It's because of this group of old-timers. They've retired. With all their skills and nowhere to use them. They're bored out of their minds. Like a pack of caged tigers, they see everything as prey. If I leave, they will only become more chaotic. Give me half a month, I said, looking seriously at Shinsiai. Within half a month, I guarantee I'll have them sorted out. No trouble, no crossing the line, I'll make your prime minister's estate look exactly like any normal residence. Shinsiai looked at me. A long silence followed. 1 month. I was stunned. I'll give you 1 month, he sighed. Because next month, envoys from various countries will be arriving in the capital. There will be a state banquet then, and I need to host it. If your group is still acting like this by that time. He didn't finish the sentence. But the message was clear. If something goes wrong at a state banquet, it's not just my reputation on the line, it's the dignity of the entire nation. No problem. I patted my chest confidently. This time, I was filming in earnest. That afternoon, I gathered everyone in the backyard. 16 people, standing perfectly straight. I paced back and forth, as if I had returned to the days when I was the commander of the secret guard. Everyone. Present. I know you can't sit still. Silence. But from their eyes, I saw agreement. I also know you feel he's being treated unfairly. A deeper silence followed. But, I stopped in my tracks, you also know that our identities are top secret. Once exposed, it won't just implicate Shinsiai, but the entire secret guard camp as well. And all our brothers and sisters who haven't retired yet. That hit the nail on the head. Everyone's expression turned serious. So from today onwards, I am not asking you to suppress your instincts. They looked up. I am assigning you tasks. Their eyes lit up. 16 pairs of elderly eyes gleamed in unison. The security of the Prime Minister's residence indeed has loopholes. The fact that those third-rate assassins could fire arrows inside proves that the perimeter defense is inadequate. I pointed toward the walls of the residence. But we mustn't make it too obvious. So, we do it in the shadows. Joe Bo was so excited he nearly crushed his slippers. The commander means traps, hidden weapons, and sentry posts, rearrange everything according to the standards of the hidden guard camp. However, I emphasized my tone, everything stays in the dark. Not a single trace should be visible on the surface. No outsider can be allowed to discover this. On the surface, you are to remain ordinary servants. This is a mission. S-class mission. Code name, Stillwater. The entire room fell silent for 3 seconds. Then. Yes. 16 voices, lowered in volume, but with their momentum undiminished. I looked at their aging faces, each one flushed with an excitement as if they had been injected with chicken blood. The corners of my mouth couldn't help but curl upward. This was exactly right. Give them things to do, give them a goal, and give them a sense of identity. It is 100 times better than forcing them to stay still. They are secret guards, after all. They'll go mad if they're idle. Being busy is only natural for them. Over the next half-month, the Prime Minister's residence underwent earth-shattering changes. On the surface, everything remained as usual. The cook quietly prepares the meals. The gardener methodically tends to the flowers. The groom honestly drives the carriage. The doorman greets guests with a beaming smile. But in the shadows, the entire Prime Minister's estate had been transformed into an iron fortress. In the garden, the position of every flower pot has been precisely calculated. Any intruder stepping into a specific area will trigger a silent alarm. Hidden beneath the kitchen stove are 3 mechanical crossbows, with a range covering the entire front hall. The roof tiles have been replaced. They look identical to the originals, but several are specially crafted. They can be removed and used as throwing knives. Even beneath the toilet in the latrine, a dagger is hidden. Though, I feel that last one is a bit much. But old Zhao insisted, what if the Prime Minister is ambushed while he's squatting in the latrine? Me? Fine, then. Shinsi knew nothing. He only knew that for the past half-month, the manor had been exceptionally quiet. No one was lining up anymore. No one was shouting reporting. Anymore. No one was pinning guests to the ground anymore. He even said to me, "Senior sister, you really do have a way." I smiled modestly, of course. Thinking to myself, my dear junior brother, there are currently 8 hidden compartments under the bed you sleep in, containing enough equipment to arm a small squad. But you don't need to know that. You don't need to know anything. You only need to focus on being your Prime Minister in times of peace. About 20 days of quiet passed. The date for the envoy's arrival in the capital drew near. Shinsi became increasingly busy. He left early and returned late every day, handling various affairs of state. I also became more and more proficient in my work as a maid. Serving tea and pouring water, doing laundry and sweeping floors and arranging meals. Doing it all with professional poise. Even learning the art of flower arrangement. Using hidden weapon techniques. But it looks perfectly normal. Truly normal. No one can tell that the vase of flowers is actually a small-scale defensive array. Touching the vase will trigger a projectile launch. Life was plain and ordinary. Until that evening. I was carrying dinner to the study. I pushed open the door. I saw Shinsiai slumped over the desk, his forehead drenched in a cold sweat. My heart tightened. Junior brother? He didn't move. I hurried over, set the food container down, and reached out to feel his forehead. It was alarmingly hot to the touch. A high fever. What happened? He was fine this morning. It's nothing, he propped himself up, his voice hoarse. I'm just a bit tired. I might have caught a cold. I watched his expression. Something is wrong. It wasn't a common cold. I had been a hidden guard for 10 years and had seen all kinds of poisons. His symptoms, cold sweat, high fever, and slightly purple lips. This is poisoning. Chronic. I grabbed his wrist abruptly to check his pulse. The pulse was erratic, sometimes fast and sometimes slow, in a state of complete disorder. Shinsiai. My voice turned cold. You've been poisoned. For how long? He froze for a moment. Then he gave a bitter smile. As expected, I can't hide anything from your eyes, senior sister. How long has it been? 3 months. 3 months. He has been poisoned for 3 months. I have been in the manor for less than a month. Which means even before I arrived, he had already. Why didn't you say anything? My voice rose involuntarily. What good would it have done? He leaned back against the chair and closed his eyes. The poison was planted by someone in the imperial court. The implications are too broad. I'm investigating, but I haven't found the source yet. So you're just going to endure it like this? The imperial physicians have it under control. I won't die. Not dying? Look at your face. You look like a corpse. He laughed. A weak smile. That's exactly why Uncle Zhang arranged for you to be here. I was stunned. What do you mean? Do you really think Uncle Zhang sent you all here just to find jobs for retired secret guards? Shinsiai opened his eyes and looked at me. Senior sister, someone wants me dead. Those third-rate assassins are just surface-level probes. The real killing blow is hidden in the shadows. Uncle Zhang was afraid I wouldn't be able to hold up, so he brought us in. I finished his sentence. My heart was a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. Uncle Zhang, that old fox. On the surface, he talked about finding a job. In reality, it was about protecting Shinsiai. And as for my mother definitely knew as well. It wasn't that she minded me idling around the house. She was afraid that if I knew Shinsiai was in danger, I wouldn't come, so she deliberately framed it as looking for a job. What a bunch of old foxes. Each one is craftier than the last. Fine. I stood up straight. My fists clenched tight. Who is it? What? Who planted the poison? Who do you suspect? Tell me. Shinsiai looked into my eyes. In them, there was hesitation and exhaustion. But ultimately, there was also trust. Grand Tutor, Xing Chang. Grand Tutor. Grand Tutor of the current dynasty. The Emperor's teacher. A veteran of 3 successive reigns. Wielding supreme power over the imperial court. I took a deep breath. Fine. Senior sister, what are you doing? What do you think? I looked at him and smiled. Smiling very gently. It was so gentle that it sent a chill down Shinsi's spine. I've retired. But my blade hasn't. That night, I gathered everyone. The backyard. Under the moonlight. 16 people stood in a single row. They looked at the expression on my face, and without a word being said, they knew something had gone wrong. Mission upgraded. Everyone's expressions instantly shifted from relaxed to razor sharp. 10 or 20 years of retirement seemed to vanish in a heartbeat. Standing before me were not cooks, gardeners, grooms, or doormen. They were the secret guards. He was a secret guard who had once walked in the darkness, his hands stained with blood and his eyes having witnessed hell. Target, Grand Tutor Jing Chang. Investigate his connection to the poisoning of the Prime Minister. Gather evidence. Remain inconspicuous. Mission code, Autumn Cicada. Time limit, complete it before the envoy's state banquet. Do you understand? Understood. No one said yes. No one shouted reporting for duty. Because this was not a performance. This was a real mission. In the eyes of the 16 people, the light was rekindled. That was the light of being alive. The days that followed. On the surface, everything in the Prime Minister's estate proceeded as usual. Maids served tea, chefs prepared meals, and gardeners tended to the flowers. But in secret. While Lao Zhao was buying groceries, he took the opportunity to map out the supply channels for the Grand Tutor's kitchen. While Lao Sun was pruning branches, he simultaneously monitored the personnel entering and leaving the Grand Tutor's residence daily. While Uncle Zhou was dozing off at the gate, he intercepted 3 secret letters traveling between the Grand Tutor's residence and the Imperial Academy of Medicine. And me. I continued to be a maid. Serving tea and pouring water. But every night, I would climb over the wall and head out once. Go for a stroll near the Grand Preceptor's estate. Take in the scenery. Smell the fragrance of the flowers. And incidentally, eavesdrop on the conversation in the Grand Preceptor's study. The 5th night. I crouched on the roof of the Grand Tutor's study. Voices drifted out from inside. Regarding the Prime Minister, increase the dosage by another 10%. An aged voice. Grand Tutor Jing Chang. Grand Tutor, any more might, another voice, younger and somewhat nervous. What is there to fear? Jing Chang's voice was calm, as if speaking of a trivial matter. That body of his was hollowed out long ago. In another half-month, he won't be able to hold on even without us lifting a finger. When that time comes, the court. He didn't continue. No need to say more. With the Prime Minister dead, who has the final say in court? The Grand Tutor. A veteran of 3 reigns and a revered imperial preceptor, his protégés and former subordinates are scattered across the realm. Now that the Prime Minister is gone, there is no one left to keep him in check. I am perched on the roof. The moon is perfectly round. The night wind is very cold. My fingers brushed against the hidden weapon at my waist. A copper coin. Flicked out, it could pierce through a 3-inch thick wooden board. If I flicked it now, it could pierce right through the Grand Tutor's skull. It would be simple. It would be easy. A mere matter of a single copper coin. But I didn't move. Because Shen Xiai said he wanted evidence. Because this wasn't an assassination. This was about taking him down in broad daylight. Let him die in the sunlight. Let everyone watch him die. I withdrew my hand. And silently left the rooftop. Back at the Prime Minister's residence. The lights were still on in Shen Xi's study. I pushed the door open and entered. He was sitting at his desk, with a bowl of dark, murky medicine placed before him. When he saw me return, his eyes flickered. Did you find anything? Yes. What's the situation? The dosage needs to be increased. He plans to kill you within half a month. Shinsi's hand holding the medicine paused for a moment. Then he drank the medicine in one gulp, without changing his expression. Then we will end all of this within half a month. I looked at him. Moonlight streamed in through the window, reflecting off his pale face. Ming was so ill he was on the verge of death. Yet, his expression remained as calm and indifferent as a light breeze. He was a world away from the little crybaby beansprout he had been back in the secret guard camp. Junior brother. When did you become such a poser? He looked up at me and smiled. In that smile, there are traces of his younger self. I learned it from my senior sister. My nose felt a bit stingy. But a secret guard does not shed tears. Even in retirement, I won't drift away. All right, I said, sitting down and pulling out the intelligence I had gathered over the past few days from my sleeve, spreading it across the table. Let's talk this through. 3 days before the state banquet. Everything is ready. Chain of evidence, complete. Plan, meticulous. Personnel, in position. The secret letters intercepted from the Grand Tutor's residence, combined with the conversation I overheard personally and the poisoning channels traced by old Zhao. The Grand Tutor ordered the Imperial Academy of Medicine to secretly lace the Prime Minister's medicine. Physician Zhang of the Imperial Academy was the Grand Tutor's man. The prescription appeared to treat a common cold, but it contained an ingredient that, if taken long-term, would cause chronic damage to the internal organs. A perfect, bloodless murder. If it weren't for a group of retired secret guards entering the manor, Shinsi probably would have truly died of illness in such an obscure and suspicious manner. The day of the state banquet. The Imperial Palace. The main hall. Envoys from various nations gathered together. Civil and military officials took their seats in rows. Shinsi was dressed in a purple robe, his complexion as clear as jade. No trace of illness could be seen. That was the effect of old Zhao's specially prepared medicinal cuisine. Although it couldn't provide a permanent cure, it could make him look spirited and energetic for a short period of time. I stood in the corner. A maidservant, after all. The kind who follows their master into the palace and stands in the corner to serve. No one noticed me. Nor should anyone have. Grand Tutor Xingchang sat at the head of the table. His hair was white as snow, his expression kind and benevolent. He had the air of a highly respected and venerable immortal. He cast a glance at Shinsi. In that glance, there was surprise. He hadn't expected Shinsi to look so healthy and vibrant. But that surprise vanished quickly. He raised his wine cup, exchanging pleasantries with the envoys of various nations with a beaming smile. The state banquet was halfway through. Shinsi stood up. Everyone looked toward him. Today is a state banquet, a gathering of friends from all nations. It should be a day of celebration. His voice was not loud, yet it could be heard clearly throughout the entire hall. However, I have a matter that I must report to your majesty today. The young emperor on the high throne, 12 years old this year, looked at him with curiosity. The Grand Tutor's smile stiffened for a brief moment. But only for a moment. He was an old fox, after all. What is the matter, Prime Minister? The young emperor asked. Shinsi drew a stack of documents from his sleeve. I wish to impeach Grand Tutor Xingchang. His voice was as calm as still water. Murdering imperial officials, intending to seize control of the government and bringing chaos to the state. The great hall erupted into an uproar. The envoys from various nations looked at one another in bewilderment. The civil and military officials whispered among themselves. Grand Tutor Xingchang's wine cup wavered slightly in his hand. But it was only a momentary tremor. He set down the cup and smiled. It was a benevolent smile. The Prime Minister must be joking. This old official has served 3 dynasties with unwavering diligence. Where do these baseless accusations even come from? He turned toward the young emperor, his tone as gentle as that of a doting grandfather. Your Majesty, the Prime Minister has been unwell lately. Perhaps the fever has clouded his mind. It might be best to let the imperial physician— The imperial physician? Shinsiai laughed. That smile caused the Grand Tutor's words to catch in his throat. It is quite timely that the Grand Tutor mentions the imperial physicians. Shinsiai handed the document in his hand to the internal attendant. This is the written confession of Physician Zhang from the Imperial Academy of Medicine. He has already admitted that for the past 3 months, acting on the Grand Tutor's orders, he has been adding a slow-acting poison known as green frost powder to my prescriptions. This substance is colorless and odorless, but over time, it destroys the internal organs. The Grand Tutor's smile still lingered on his face. But I saw it. The fingertips of his left hand were trembling slightly. A one-sided story, the Grand Tutor said unhurriedly. Imperial Physician Zhang may have been coerced into framing this old official. The second one. Shinsiai pulled out another letter. This is the secret correspondence between the Grand Tutor's Manor and Imperial Physician Zhang. It bears the Grand Tutor's private seal. The contents detail the dosage of the poison, the timing of the administration, and— He paused, looking at the Grand Tutor. And the Grand Tutor's exact words: ensure their death from illness within half a month. The hall fell so silent that a dropped needle could be heard. Everyone turned their gaze toward the Grand Tutor. The Grand Tutor's smile finally could not be maintained. But he was, after all, a veteran official of 3 reigns, possessing immense depth and shrewdness. He took a breath and slowly stood up. A forgery! His voice suddenly rose in pitch. Your Majesty, this is a deliberate forgery. I have served 3 dynasties with unwavering loyalty. How could I possibly do such a— The third piece? Shinsi's voice was not loud, yet it was like a blade, thrusting with precision into the gap in the Grand Tutor's words. This is a secret recording from my estate, capturing the Grand Tutor's conversation in his study 3 days ago. He glanced at me. I understood his meaning. Stepping out from the corner, I handed over a small bamboo tube. It was what I had recorded that night on the roof, using the secret guard camp's specially made sound-capturing bamboo tube. The inner official took the bamboo tube and triggered the mechanism. The Grand Tutor's voice emerged clearly from the tube. Increase the dosage by another 10%. In another half-month, he won't be able to hold on, even without us lifting a finger. The voice echoed throughout the entire Great Hall. The expressions of the envoys from various nations changed. The expressions of the civil and military officials changed. The young emperor's expression changed as well. The Grand Tutor's face completely lost all color. His lips trembled as he tried to say something. But he could no longer speak. Because that was his own voice. Everyone in the main hall recognized his voice. A veteran of 3 dynasties who had spoken and lectured countless times, who wouldn't recognize him? Your Majesty, Shinsiai knelt. His voice was steady. The 3 forms of evidence I have presented, witness testimony, physical proof, and audio recordings, are all complete. I implore your Majesty to thoroughly investigate the Grand Tutor's estate and restore integrity to the imperial court. The Great Hall remained silent for a long time. Then, the young emperor spoke. His 12-year-old voice was youthful, yet clear. Take him down. The Grand Tutor's entire body shuddered. Your Majesty. This old servant is wronged. Take him down. The young emperor stood up. His face was flushed deep red. I trusted you. I treated you as my mentor. Is this how you repay me? The Grand Tutor's knees went weak. Knelt on the ground. The Imperial guards outside the hall swarmed in. 2 guards grabbed the Grand Tutor by his arms. The Grand Tutor struggled to look back at Shinsiai. The hatred in those eyes was so thick it almost seemed to drip out. Shinsiai. You. Shinsiai stood up and brushed the dust off his knees. He cast a faint, indifferent glance at him. Farewell, Grand Tutor. The Grand Tutor was dragged out. The tension in the main hall finally eased. Whispers began to surge like a rising tide. The envoys from various nations whispered among themselves, clearly not expecting a state banquet to turn into such a dramatic political spectacle. The expressions on a few of the envoys were, how should one put it, even more excited than if they were watching a play. Shinsiai turned toward the young emperor and bowed deeply. I have disrupted the state banquet. I beg your majesty's forgiveness. The young emperor looked at him and remained silent for a moment. Then, he spoke. Prime Minister. Your servant is here. If you have something on your mind in the future, tell me sooner. Shinsiai was slightly stunned for a moment. Then, he smiled. I shall obey your decree. The state banquet concluded. On the carriage returning to the Prime Minister's estate, Shinsiai leaned against the wall of the carriage, his eyes closed. His face had turned pale once again. The medicine has worn off. Hang in there, I said. Yes. I'll brew some medicine for you when we get back. Yes. Once the source of the poison is cleared and you've recuperated for a month or so, you'll be fine. Yes. There was a moment of silence. Senior sister. Thanks. I remained silent. She reached out to straighten his tilted head, preventing him from waking up with a stiff neck. This kid. Back in the secret guard camp, when I used to chase him, he was just like this, leaning against the wall with his eyes closed, playing dead the moment he couldn't run anymore. Exactly the same. It's been 10 years. Some things have changed. Some things haven't. I watched the streetscape flash by the window. A faint smile touched the corners of my mouth. Being a maid. It's actually quite interesting. Life after the Grand Tutor's fall from power has become much more peaceful. After the source of the poison was neutralized, Shinsiai recovered quickly. Thanks to his youthful constitution, his complexion was glowing with health within half a month. The Prime Minister's residence finally began to resemble a normal household. Or so it seemed. Reporting to the commander. How many times do I have to tell you? Don't shout reporting. Yes. Reporting, Commander. Sentry post number 3 on the eastern wall spotted a squirrel attempting to scale the wall and invade. The defense mechanism has been activated, and it has been catapulted back over the wall. Awaiting instructions. It was a squirrel. Yes. It was a squirrel. But its behavior was suspicious. It lingered at the same spot multiple times. It was suspected of scouting the terrain. That's its nest in that tree, old Joe. But Commander, turn off the mechanism. Let the squirrel go home. Yes. I covered my face. Never mind. This group of people. I can't control them anymore. And I don't want to anymore. Let them be. That evening, I was sitting in the courtyard drinking tea. The moon was large and round. I didn't notice when Shinsiai walked over and sat down beside me. Senior sister. Yes. Do you plan on staying here forever? I gave it some thought. Will you provide room and board? I will. What about the monthly allowance? It's been raised to 5 taels. Deal. He gave a small smile. I smiled back. Moonlight flooded the entire courtyard. Old Zhao's shouting drifted from a distance, who took my kitchen knife to sharpen pencils. I've said it so many times, don't use the cookware for anything but its proper purpose. Followed by Uncle Zhou's yelling, "Old son, stop hiding hidden weapons under my bed." I rolled over last night and got a backside full of needles. And the gardener old son's protest, "Those aren't hidden weapons, those are flower branches. Thorny flower branches. Can't you tell the difference between a flower branch and a hidden weapon?" I can't tell. That flower of yours is dipped in poison. It's for preservation. Preservation. Total chaos. Lively. I held my teacup, listening to these sounds. Suddenly, I felt that retirement life isn't so boring after all. What happened later? The Grand Tutor's estate was confiscated and his entire clan executed, with his descendants up to the 3rd generation barred from entering officialdom. Imperial physician Zhang was stripped of his post and imprisoned, sentenced to execution after the autumn harvest. For a good while, a spirit of integrity and clarity prevailed throughout the imperial court. Chen Xi's position as prime minister grew increasingly stable. As for me, I continued to be my maidservant. Serving tea, pouring water, and sweeping the floors. Occasionally catching an arrow. Occasionally flicking a copper coin. Occasionally sitting on the roof, watching the stars. Occasionally lecturing that group of troublesome retired old men. My mother came to visit me once. Standing at the entrance of the Prime Minister's estate, she looked at the orderly scene inside and felt very satisfied. "Daughter, you've done quite well for yourself." "Of course." "Is the Prime Minister good to you?" "He's all right." Have you considered, Mother?" Stop thinking about it." "But he is my junior brother." "So what if he's your junior? Can't a junior brother be married?" "You should go back now." I closed the door. From outside the door came my mother's unwilling howl, "Su Tang. You're 25. If you don't get married now, no one will want you. Look at what great qualities Shenxi has. Young. Rich. Powerful. And he's even good-looking." I rolled my eyes. Door closed. Locked. Peace and quiet at last. But that night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. An image suddenly flashed through my mind. On the carriage, Shenxi leaned against the wall with his eyes closed, his pale face illuminated by the moonlight. When he said thank you, there was a hint of vulnerability in his voice. The kind of vulnerability that is only revealed when facing someone of absolute trust. I tossed and turned. Then I turned again. TCH. I pulled the quilt over my head. "What are you thinking, Su Tang? You are a secret guard. A former secret guard. A retired secret guard. Current maidservant. Stop thinking about nonsense. Go to sleep." But Shenxi's face kept spinning in my head. Damn it. Are my mother's words cursed or something? I sat up and gulped down a large glass of cold water. I'm not going to think about it anymore. I have to get up early tomorrow to sweep the courtyard. The next day, I carried the tea toward the study. Shinsiai looked up at me and suddenly asked, "Senior sister, didn't you sleep well last night? You have dark circles under your eyes." My hand trembled and the tea almost spilled. "No." "Is that so?" He looked at me for 2 seconds, didn't press further, and lowered his head to continue reviewing official documents. I set the tea down and turned to leave. Just as I reached the doorway, he said something from behind me. "Senior sister." Is 5 taels of silver a month enough? If not, I can add more." "It's enough, it's enough." "Oh." There was a brief pause. "Then don't leave." I turned back to look at him. He didn't look up. The tips of his ears were red. I stared at that flush for a moment. I turned my head back and walked away. He stepped out of the study. Standing in the hallway, he took a deep breath, looking toward the sky. "Su Tang. Stay calm. You are a secret guard. A former secret guard. The kind who has killed people. Not a little girl." No blushing. I slapped my own face hard. Not far away, Uncle Joe poked his head out, his expression suspicious. "Commander? Are you slapping yourself?" "Working out." "Oh." He withdrew. I let out a long sigh of relief. Never mind. Whatever. The days are still long. For now, I'll just focus on being a good maid. As for everything else, we'll see about that later. It's not like I can't get away. I am a former commander of the secret guards, after all. If I want to run, no one in the world can catch me. Probably. That evening, I passed by the study window. I heard Shinsiai and Uncle Joe talking inside. "My lord, the commander blushed today." "I know. This is a good sign, my lord. If you just push a little harder." "Uncle Joe, get out." "But, get out." The door opened. Uncle Joe was pushed out. He saw me crouching under the window. I saw him. Their eyes met. 3 seconds of silence. "Commander, did you hear that?" "No." "Really nothing?" "No. I'm here counting ants." "Oh." Joe Bo slowly walked away. After a few steps, he looked back again. "Commander." "Yes. Although he is your junior brother, he is actually quite reliable." "Uncle Joe." "Shut up." "Yes." He left. I continued to crouch there. It was quiet inside the window for a moment. Then came Shinsi's voice. Very soft. As if talking to himself. "Senior sister, how long have you been crouching under the window?" I closed my eyes. I'm doomed. I've been caught. The shame of the secret guards. The #1 humiliation of retirement. Getting caught by the homeowner while eavesdropping under their window. I stood up and brushed the dust off my skirt. Without saying a word, I greased my heels and slipped away. A low chuckle came from behind me. That laughter. It was deathly tender. I ran even faster.